Miller's Biodiversity Farm. We're going to get into what biodiversity means, and but what we're kind of proud to report here is that all the animals are heritage breed. There is no spray. I assume that means pesticide usage, right? No GMOs involved with any of the plants or the feed for the animals, which is a big one. No routine antibiotics used with the animals. No growth promoting hormones. Now, non-confined, meaning that, to a degree, because they're not just running all over the streets, but free to roam on really good-sized pastures, and we'll see those in a minute. 100% grass-fed and pasture-raised, which to me is actually more of what I'm looking for these days. I think grass-fed has been thrown around the way cage-free eggs has been thrown around. And then I think something unique with Aaron here is that he's genetically testing constantly for A2 milk, which is something we explain in the newsletter here. If you want to grab the dirt that Marie wrote up, and she spells that out in very much detail. But it's a genetic mutation. With that A1 is A1 type milk is a genetic mutation that tends to be more allergenic and things. So Aaron's offering really the least possible allergenic milk products and the most heritage type of milk that were adapted well for. So with that in mind, I'm going to rebroadcast your mission here if you don't mind. Aaron and the farms, the mission is to produce real, farm-fresh, nutrient-dense, great-tasting food. Their vision is to end sickness by enhancing health, nutrition, and happiness. And their purpose is to inspire a generation of healthy children and reduce healthcare costs, which I think is incredibly important. The younger you are in getting into this stuff, the better you will be later. It's kind of hard to turn back the clock, but this food is so potent it can. But so this was taken when we were on a farm tour. Aaron's happy to give people tours of the farm and show off his awesome practices. So we went in the fall. This is my first visit, so we'll take a kind of a virtual tour through. And if you want to kind of comment along the way on anything that you're seeing that would be good to share, please do. I believe this is like your vegetable growing area here then, right?
Yes.
And we see the house in the background and a covered greenhouse there. And we're offering pony rides. Okay. And
that's our oldest son, Ben, is driving the ponies and get pony rides.
So fun. I mean, when do you get a pony ride, right?
When you're a little kid, you do.
Yeah. So that's the greenhouse, right? What do you grow in the greenhouse?
Well, actually, that garden is not actually ours.
Oh, okay.
It's like the other party in the house there.
Oh, gotcha. That's a shared space.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
We got like 2 houses there on the farm, they got this quarter-acre garden where they grow a lot of tomatoes and so forth.
Okay. Do you offer those through your club, or that's just they're doing their own thing?
They do just directly, like wholesale, big quantities.
That's awesome. And just so lush there. That's eucalyptus, right?
Flowers, yep.
Yeah, just a beautiful farm. We were so impressed. I mean, look at the richness of those greens. Just everything was so vibrant. Nice lettuce there, I believe. Parsley. And then the back lot here. Incidentally, I believe this is your phone booth?
Yes.
So if you ever call the farm, just know, if it's winter, keep it short. Got to keep those phones away from the house. But I just think we've been working with Amish farms over the years, at least a decade now, and it's always been a matter of a lot of phone tag, and you leave the message, and you be patient, and it all happens. It all works out. But now we have liaisons working emails and things for us as well. It makes it a little easier. We'll go on how the club works in a bit. On farm day, we all got to take hay rides and take a little cruise out to see the pastures and visit with the roaming cattle. And there's some fine horses you got there.
Thanks.
That is a 4 horsepower engine there. And took a fun bumpy ride up the hill there. And now another unique thing about Aaron is the way you have your hogs actually really in woodlands, which is the most natural kind of environment for them. Hogs aren't typically, you wouldn't call them grass-fed because they need to forage and dig around out in the woods, and you've got a nice piece of woods for them. You want to talk about the hogs at all?
Well, yes. The unique thing about having hogs in the woods is because they need shade. Like a hog can't sweat like a normal person, and you see that muddy hog on the to Kevin's side there, and they built these like mud puddles and ponds, which when it rains, they want to conserve that water. And so when it gets hot, they'll just lay in there. So, and also the acorns and walnuts in the fall, when those fall, they get good meals.
Do you have to?
What do you do in winter? There in the house?
Well, we actually slaughter those before winter.
It's a short life.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
would you make them a house?
winter is one of the. I mean, hogs can live out in the winter, but we've actually done it one time, and I don't think I'll do it right away again. But what they'll do, their survival is like unique. I mean, they will build like a. I just call it a hole basically, and they'll build the dirt out like this, and then they'll all lay like right in there, like tight against each other, and they won't get up unless you like give them feed or give them something special and make it rattle a little bit, and they'll jump up and this whole cloud of steam will go up. But they don't have like, they're not like a cow or horse where they got this natural coat that, or whatever skin that will actually naturally thicken. They need a deep bedding pack or something.
So you said, what's their natural food choice for them to nourish them? What do they eat?
Well, we feed them like the soy-free feed, which is organic. But they also got, in the fall time, they also got like acorns and walnuts. So I would say that's a lot there. Like in Spain, they sell hams. I don't know what they sell them for, but a lot for the acorn finished hogs. So it has more of a unique flavor. Does that answer your question?
Anybody else with the pigs and the hogs? Anything like that?
The pigs are so fun for the boys to watch because, it doesn't, well, I shouldn't say this maybe, but the boy thing, it doesn't hurt to get dirty now, once they see the pigs.
All right. So then, moving along on our hay ride, we got to see the grazing milk cows and heritage breeds, correct?
Yeah, I mean, they're Jersey.
Yeah.
Jersey cross, yes.
The black and white one is
Dutch Belt and Jersey cross.
That's right, Dutch Belt. So that's what we're typically looking for. Us raw milk seekers, we like Guernseys, Jerseys, Normandies, right?
Yeah, those will work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a better, higher fat content, butter fat, and that's where a lot of the flavor comes from.
And the nutrients are in that fat. That's the fat solubles A, D, E, and K that the Weston Price Foundation really promotes, and just an amazing source for those foods if you're good with dairy. And for the most part, people should be good with this dairy if it's daring enough to try it. And we like to help people ease into it because a lot of people complain of lactose intolerance these days, and this is certainly the antidote for that. So we can talk more about that if you or people have a bit of a thing, an intolerance there. And this was so fun to meet fellow customers as well, all out on the farm. We had just had a really nice big meal, so we were. Oh yeah.
You see this? Where's it at? This poly wire right there. We use that to control them. Like that has a little bit of electric current in there, so we use that to keep them in places. One of the challenges in the spring is they always want fresh. So once they break over that fence, like if you got grass this high, they'll trample a lot, which isn't bad, but it's kind of disgusting because then my plan is I gotta make another plan.
The whole plan is
dashed.
Well, that's. I mean, you hardly even notice a fence. I mean, they really just feel like they're just.
Yes.
You know, and they're into a routine, right? Like they're
Yes.
not gonna want to wander too far. They kind of know where home
Yeah,
is.
and if they got good grass and they're fed well, they won't want to wander
Yeah.
anywhere else.
But I grew up in PA, and you never saw cows like loose on the streets. I mean, they kind of know where home's at. So nice. How many do you have total there?
We probably got around 40
Okay.
in there,
Yeah.
and we got around 50 acres.
So 50 acres. Yeah. And then so we all got to walk them back in, get ready for milking time. I always love how like they just you don't need to like be whacking them like they know like they're
Yeah.
just.
They know.
And one of our guests from the last tasting is in this shot, having a try at milking there. I did not do it. I don't know why. I don't
Well,
know.
yeah, they actually, and then they gave the bottle to the calf.
Right, you had just had what twin calves born? That like really
Oh, man.
recently.
You know what? I think
I think right.
the evening before. Okay, well, thanks. I
I can't remember how old they were.
And the mother was rejecting one of them or something. Something was happening where one of them wasn't eating too
probably.
well. Yeah, yeah. They're not used to having twins, I
No,
imagine, right?
not normally.
It's like one of them's got to go. But there's one of the twins, I think. Adorable. So yeah, that's the view from inside the barn. Some modes of transportation in your community include the scooter.
Some of it, yes.
Yeah. The horse and buggy. And there's the house. So I think that's the farm tour. Yeah. So we'll have some questions and then I'll go on with.
So do you hand milk?
No, we do not. We have a milking machine,
Okay.
or 3 of them, milking machines. I mean, if I would hand milk, it would take all day. And plus, the hand milking is not nearly as clean. Like every udder that has any dirt, I mean, every udder gets washed before we actually put on the milking machine. And then we also have like testing of every batch that we do milk. At this
Which
point.
is unique, I think, amongst
It is.
a lot of raw milk producers, right?
It is.
I think
It's-
it's something everybody should be doing.
Well, it is, and the unique thing about it is, when you take a test, if a certified lab takes a test, I'll get the results a week later, and I'll be like, "What did I do? What happened? It's gone." So, with the in-house lab, we can take a test, and we can say, "Oh, what happened?"
Aaron, sorry, they can't hear you. It's
Oh,
a little
sorry.
loud. That's okay.
And the in-house lab, we can see if something was off a little bit. We can fix it in a very short time. Also, the other thing about keeping the counts low is the milk actually keeps for 2 weeks, sometimes for 3.
Does it have to be refrigerated?
Yes. Well, it should be. Where did you grow up?
Where did I grow up?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Down the street.
Okay, I figured you wanted, like some of these Russians like to clabber their milk.
Yeah.
So, but normally I personally would just keep it in my fridge at 36 degrees,
Okay.
and it'll keep for 2 weeks.
So like 2 solid weeks is good. I've been ordering from you guys for a while, so my kids get it. And usually I start to get a little weary at like right before the 2-week mark. But you're saying 2 weeks is okay.
Use your senses.
Yeah,
I
use
mean,
your senses. That's about the only thing I can say. There might be a batch every once in a while that tastes odd a little bit, but normally if we keep it at 36 degrees, it should keep for 2 weeks.
One thing we found is keep moving it, like air is the enemy, so keep moving it to smaller and smaller containers. Once you're at a half a gallon, pop that over to the next
Yeah.
smallest. And
Yeah.
then I'm down to like a kombucha bottle by the end. And,
And keeping in the coldest part of your fridge if possible.
right, low and to the back.
Which on that note, what happened to the glass containers? The large, the gallon ones? You don't have those anymore.
We had too many breakages
Okay.
with the large gallon of milk. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We at last we just decided, you know what? And what comes with that is these large gallon jugs, would break so easy. And sometimes when a customer got it out of their cooler, they put it in the back of their car to take it home. It was broke when they get back. You know how milk is in the car.
I've also heard in terms of letting the cream line be, like because this milk will settle out, it hasn't been homogenized. So leaving that cream line intact seals in the milk and helps it. If you're constantly, I got a cream line and shaking it up, that's going to accelerate the souring of the milk. But it's never harmful or putrid. It's just souring into its next phase. So you don't have to be afraid of it. It's just not going to taste good. But go ahead.
Is it 2 weeks from when you purchase it or when you open it?
Ooh,
Well,
good
there's
question.
a Best By date on there when you get the milk. So if you're up to the Best By date, it should be good. And the
You said
Best
it's
By,
good for like 2 weeks, but
I would say once you get it, yes.
once you get it.
Go by the Best By date. But the Best By date is normally 16 days over when we bottle.
But even if you would drink it anyway, you're not gonna get sick. It just won't.
You don't
taste
get
good.
sick. It's just not tasty.
Right.
And if you're not accustomed to probiotic foods, it might be a jolt because it's getting more probiotic rich as it sours. So the microbes present are chewing up sugar, turning it sour, creating lactic acid. So that's why it's souring and less sweet, but more probiotic. So it starts to make for a good cheese. You can, what do? You strain
There's
it?
lots of things you can do
Yeah.
with sour milk too. So if you don't want to drink it, you can use it for making pancake, all kinds of stuff. So it's very useful.
You're
Never
talking about
really- Yeah.
Yep. So never throw it away. Unless it's just completely disgusting.
Quick question.
Yeah.
In terms of sour milk, like what do you create? Like sour cream? What else can you make with sour milk? Just
Yeah, you could. Yeah,
I-
you
I'm
could do
asking
kefir. You could.
she had a
kefir.
question.
You want to
I get pretty creative with it.
Well, this is one thing that's very interesting to me because if we have sour milk, it goes to those pigs.
Big.
Yeah.
And you give them the skim milk when you
Yes.
create cream, right?
Yeah.
So
Give them a lot of skim milk.
what's touted as a health food in most of America, skim milk, is pig
Pig
food.
feed.
And it fattens them up. That's the whole point. It's like, right? Like, wouldn't you say they love it? It
Yeah.
fattens them
If you think you got a pig full, and you dump him clapper milk, he's gonna come.
up.
Yes. They
Yeah,
love
it.
clapper milk.
Yeah. Again, which points to like, I love how, milk is this universal thing amongst mammals. Like we're in the milk club, being a mammal. Like milk is this beautiful essence that we all, I think, kind of share in. I don't think it's, you know what I mean? Like the other animals share in the cow's milk on the farm, right? Like, kittens are always pictured in the olden days, at least, with a bowl of milk.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like, don't give your cat milk, which it's true. You wouldn't want to give him pasteurized milk, so it's kind of.
Yeah.
Anywho, we could go on and on. So any other questions about just the farm in general? And then I'm going to go through some fun stats about our food system if you're interested. Well, I wanted to get back to, so in the namesake of Aaron's farm here, biodiversity, how would you describe like biodiversity when you were kind of choosing that as your theme?
Biodiversity is life-giving.
Mm-hmm. Like using like the force of life to your advantage, like biomimicry, they call that. When you're using like the forces of nature to your betterment and not trying to fight them back, which is the industrial model of clearing space and constantly having to fight back the nature that's trying to fill that void. Nature hates a void, right? Like it just does not want to be sterilized. It does not want to be pushed aside. We'll always have weeds and pests trying to. So you work with those rhythms of nature by basically emulating like the prairie lands where you'd have cattle move through, chickens and pigs, and there's a cycle that gets created that is just a topsoil machine. Like that's how topsoil just flourishes. So, and I know Marie calls you a grass farmer, which I don't use that term because I want people to know you're not just growing grass, but in the truest sense of the word, that is your foremost goal, is to have healthy
Grass.
soil and
Yes.
grass, right?
Yes.
Like that's the basis
Healthy
for it.
soil, because if we get healthy soil, we get healthy grass. If we have healthy grass, we got healthy animals.
Mhm.
And we have healthy animals, we got healthy people.
Exactly.
I mean, I've seen that over the years. years ago I saw that in my own animals and my cows. Like there was just something missing. So we really started working on the soil.
That's it, right?
And yes.
I know a guy, my great grandfather's farm, Weston Price actually toured it for one of their kind of field trip kind of days during the conference. And he's been working, the guy who owns it now, Forrest Stricker, has been working for like 10 years to reset from the conventional, from a few decades of conventional farming. And it's still not up to where it could be. So, I mean, it takes so much time. If the previous farmer went the wrong route with that soil, it's scarred, for a long time. And so regenerative farming then, actually leaves all of these other species of animal, if you can kind of see, it lets them coexist. It's farming, letting us get what we need from the land, and still allowing for natural life to occur. When you go for extractive style farming where it needs to be cleared and weeded and pesticides, you can see the biodiversity really falls off and you're left with just a handful of creatures that can also coexist because we share this planet, Here's another kind of layout of, this is a much more integrative, less monocultured kind of approach, and the diversity is nice and, high. And then as you get more and more closer to a monocrop, row cropping type of agriculture, that diversity falls off. And I just don't think that's fair to the land, to the earth. I know we have a lot of mouths to feed as well, but we can do it in amazing ways that build topsoil and are leaving something for the future. So this is one of my favorite catchphrases going around right now. It's not the cow, it's the how. Because I think there's very little distinction out there in the discussions about climate change and whatnot. They're not really distinguishing small farms, which I hate that word too, small. There's nothing small about it in my mind, but modest-sized farms like you being regenerative, and against the big industrial-sized farms that are just light on the land, and we'll see those in a minute. But this is, maybe you can also kind of speak to this. Continuous grazing is if you just let your cattle kind of do their own thing, right? Like on a big piece of land, which is what you see with some of the mid-sized dairies, I'd say. Growing up in PA, I would see this, a lot of Holstein cows, which is a newer breed, much more production, but thinner, less quality, more allergenic milk. And they weren't really being sort of directed around. They would come back to a cement paddock, eat grains, and it was a muddy mess. I can remember that land just was not a healthy looking soil like I've seen in yours. So managed grazing uses smaller areas to kind of squeeze them along, and again with like biomimicry, we are now like the wolves that would have chased the bison, from place to place, and keep them moving, keep that soil regenerating, let their manure soak in and do its work and build the microbial life up. So it's not the cow, it's the how. And I think we've all been hearing a lot about cow farts lately. So this is a chart showing that we are, industry and us driving our cars are way more of a problem than cow farts, which are 2% of the emissions. So by eliminating cows, great, we took out 2% of like a much, much bigger problem, ourselves included. So I think people got to stop ganging up on farmers on this one,
Well, I agree.
And there's a lot. This is all from Sacred Cow. It's a movie coming out soon, being produced by Diana Rogers from Sustainable Dish. So I encourage you to follow her. Her Instagram and Facebook feed is like on fire right now. And feel free if you want to pass them around even. These are some of the great stats that she's going to be kind of correcting about, what's going around about farming. And the notion that eliminating meat would do really more harm than good. It would up the need for more of these cash crops, row cropping that's damaging to the land, causes erosion, it's washing a lot of pesticides into rivers. There's just as many problems with us putting an increase on plant-based solutions and taking meat out of the picture. We'd also lose a lot of nutrition. I think us in preaching to the choir here, but very essential vitamins, fat solubles, and things that we need animal-based products, but animal-based products done the right way and regenerative, so we can have a future behind everything. Another thing that I think no one's really thinking about is if they just want to get rid of cows, right? Like so bad, just get them, like this is wrong, this is an abomination. But our lives are surrounded by the byproducts of cattle and other animals that, that only, it comes down to 42% is what we consume as meat or other edibles. And the rest is actually, think about it, sheetrock. And we are looking at animal-based products pretty much wherever we go. They're in a lot of medicines, adhesives, dyes, inks. I love that there's cow blood and imitation eggs. If you're looking to kind of save the planet and eat imitation eggs, you missed that one too. But lamination, film, plastics, shampoo, wallpaper. I mean, and this is nothing new. This is a similar chart from back in the day. I mean, this was always a nose to tail kind of thing where nothing really went to waste. And, one creature's sacrifice can really make a difference in our lives. And I think we should be reverent to that. But our civilization has co-evolved with the help of animals, and stripping that out suddenly to replace with industrial solutions just doesn't seem like a great idea to me. So this is a map from that same era showing all the kinds of herds and agriculture going on in the country. This country is an amazingly bountiful country if it worked well. And what it evolved into at the dawn of industrialization is, this is a map of the concentrated animal feeding operations, ranked from extremely dense to no operations going on. So you can see that there are 450,000 of these large feeding operations, and this is data from 2006. So this could probably have increased. And 16,000 of those are the extreme ones with tens of thousands of animals packed together on one piece of land. And so, oopsie, my slideshow just quit. Oh, no. All right, it's coming back. Point. More talk. And let's get back to where we were here. Point. So yeah, the density of animals on these is kind of staggering. There is not gonna go? Okay. The largest operations have 800,000 pigs and up to 2 million chickens. And this is what's supplying your KFC and your fast food and schools and hospitals and So I agree that this is an abomination. I don't know how fast we'll be able to scale it down to something regenerative, mainly because of all the byproducts and things that we're still going to need. But it is alarming, and it is good to try to defund them by making wise choices with your food and supporting local. Another fact about massive operations, especially in the plant world, is that there's been outbreaks in spinach and cauliflower of people diseases, of animal diseases like listeria. And people kind of it does beg the question, how does that happen? It's literally from the billions of tons of manure that are soaking into the ground and soaking into waterways and or being applied as fertilizer that, from these sick animals from the factories that gives us infects plants with these diseases. This is a pretty startling one. Every year, we are having to dispose of now 10,000 aircraft carriers worth of manure that is full of antibiotics and toxic and useless as a fertilizer. So every year that's just kind of piling up. We don't know what to do with it. It's the new nuclear waste, what are we gonna do with this stuff? And you'll see why. This is an aerial view of a CAFO if you've ever seen. I know everybody's seen them, the inside shots. I'll spare you that. But these individual little specks are cows on just muddy paddocks, stepping around their own feces and eating no grass. They go to feeding areas where they drive a truck along here and just dump whatever's good that day in there. And then these are the cesspools full of this useless manure that are just filling and filling and filling with absolutely no hope of reclaiming that land. Here's another one. Now, this is also where a lot of your organic products are coming from. Aurora Organic Milk has operations of 10,000 and larger that's still considered organic. So I don't want milk from a place like that, I'll tell you that much. I mean, these things are literally a scar on the land that will probably never heal. And it's terrible that we've done this, and I'd love to see us all steering away from that and supporting the farmers who do it right. Now, plant-based isn't free of this either. This is an aerial view of probably Kansas, Midwest, and if you've ever flown over the Midwest and wondered what all those little circles are for miles, as far as the eye can see, those are automated irrigational systems for row cropping. And those systems like this are what are draining the aquifers of the West at an alarming rate. They can't fill back up fast enough to keep up with this kind of farming. So animal-based or plant-based, massive farming is problematic on so many levels. So, and all of that food gets funneled into a situation like this, which is, you know, you can start here in the dog food aisle with grain-based stuff, and you wind through here, you've got just like imagine a Rubik's Cube with the same ingredients on each color. You've got, take those same ingredients, and you've got your cereal aisle, and then you change those ingredients, you add some salt, you've got crackers. It's the same soy, corn, wheat-based stuff, you know, packaged with stuff that's not getting recycled. We humans are just piling this earth up with things that we can't manage. So better to be a part of a closed loop system. This is, by the way, the big producers, the big 8 or whatever that is. You have this illusion of choice as you wander through those aisles aimlessly, forgetting what you came to get. And, you know, all of these brands that you think are, you know, nice homegrown brands or smaller, whatever, are traceable back to Coca-Cola, Kraft, Kellogg's, General Mills. And unfortunately, they're the ones funding a lot of the faulty science flying around to make sure that their products can stay on market and you're not scared away. Go ahead. What's that? Oh, please, yes. I can even send you the copy then too. It's very detailed and it's very alarming. If you know, once you can see it like on a computer screen, you know, it's like not a lot of people know that Dasani is a Coca-Cola product, Dasani water, and it's just filtered municipal water. You've already paid for that in your taxes. Now they'll sell it back to you with some minerals added back in, and you know, crazy. So just ask yourself, after seeing all that, this is my final thought on this. This is your, you know, these are the gates to pass through when you're making decisions about eating. You know, is this food traditional? And I think we can say very much a yes here. Did it nourish people for thousands of years? For sure. Is it real food found in nature? Yeah, it's, you know, nature is such a loose word. You know, these are domesticated, you know, creatures, so it's not like you're out foraging or something, but yes, in a sense. Do I know every ingredient? You can if you ask the farmer. You're able to, you know, and you're listing everything, you know, so, and there's less than 5 ingredients in pretty much everything you're doing, right? So, and do I know how it was prepared? Thumbs up. Can you make it in your kitchen? I hope so. If not, YouTube it, figure out how. And then can you buy it directly from a farmer? So that's what we're standing for here tonight, and I hope you've enjoyed the samples, and we can have kind of an open forum. I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts on where you're at with your food journey.
I used to live in Colorado, and in Colorado is a national forest who let the cattle run free, I guess.
Mhm.
So how is that different than like a farm? Is it, you know, better for the cow and everything?
Maybe you can speak to that. I'm going to just kind of...
Sorry. I lived in Colorado and I did a lot of camping.
Thanks for
stuff in the
tuning
national
in.
forest.